Me. Oh, me. Now where could I be? Hey, you. Have you seen me?
But of course.
Well, would you mind telling me where I am? It's time to do the show.
Certainly. I'm in there.
Thanks. Hey, how come you're helping me? I thought you were against me.
I'm against everybody.
All right, you. Come out of there. It's time to do the show.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Please don't make me do it.
Hello, I'm Scott Feinblatt, and welcome to Too Much Time. As the opening sequence of today's program implied, being an artist is no picnic, so I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you to show a little bit of love for those beloved characters we all know and love through our associations with the archetypes of the collective unconscious and pity. I'm speaking, of course, of artists and poets like myself who, despite our, shall we say, unconventional persuasions, have managed to find a niche in society that is as long as no one takes the internet away from us. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the rack of the day. We take you now to Poetry Corner. Of all the crumbs that fell in my lap, I don't know the ones that I picked up from the floor to discard later, from the ones that just fell out of my mouth and are still safe for consumption. What will happen if I eat them without knowing? And now, let's take a look at some letters. This first letter is from Columbia Record House, and it is addressed to Rob Sheridan. Columbia Records writes, "Dear Mr. Sheridan, you are 3 payments late. Please submit $23.16 immediately to avoid persecution." This next letter comes to us from Israel. It is an Aleph. Aleph. Aleph has a numerical value of 1. In other Jewish news, it is the Jewish New Year. And the Jews, as much as anyone else, basically meaning non-Arab countries, are hoping for a peaceful resolution to the perennial Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And while Egypt played host to a meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas last week, a state-run Egyptian newspaper allegedly doctored a photograph of the occasion. In the original photograph, Egypt's president, Hosni Mubarak, was bringing up the rear of a progression led by American President Barack Obama. But in the allegedly doctored image, Mubarak is in the lead. This is, in fact, a big misunderstanding. There's a perfectly logical explanation behind all of this, and if you could hear the original soundtrack that accompanied these original photographs, you would agree with me. It went something like this. Heading into the final lap, Obama's in the lead, and wait a minute, someone's coming up from behind. Could it be? Yes, it is! Mubarak is pulling ahead, and he takes the lead! For an alternate view on a potential solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I'd like to inquire, what would Cthulhu do? It's quite simple. It would all start in the dreams of man. The cosmic disturbance would influence the unconscious awareness of all humans and compel them to waking obsession over the impending paradigm shift, which could only be comprehended as Armageddon. This would quickly escalate into mass hysteria in their waking lives. Mobs of people driven into frenzies would destroy themselves. Man would gouge out the eyes of his brother without pause for reasoning. Chaos and destruction would permeate the atmosphere, and nature herself would tremble as explosions would herald the arrival of great Cthulhu. Finally, up through the aquatic depths, from an ages-old fissure in the earth's crust, the behemoth elder would rise, amused that his very presence would cause such distortion in the minds of the callow and vain creatures which assumed stewardship of the planet in his absence. Then, by the time he had gotten here, any remaining humans would stare in catatonic vacuity at the new god which would govern their fate, but only for the fleeting moments that the Elder Lord would deem their minute presence anything but a nuisance, and within a blink of one of his gigantic cephalopoidal oculi, he would snatch up the remnants of humanity with his tentacles and smooth them into a fine pate of mortal-flavored spread for his crackers, and the memory of man would be no more! That's the show for the week, folks. This is Scott Feinblatt, and I've run out of time.